Hi foodies, so today I'm going to be making my brown butter Bacardi rum cake. Now this is a recipe that I actually found online, but I did a few things just to give it a little extra kick. So I do have this recipe on my website, that's at plussizeinchicago.com. There are a few steps to this, but I'm going to be showing you what I've done on video, so hopefully this will be helpful for you. So basically what I'm doing is getting all of the dry ingredients together. And I'm going to start off with the sugars. There is 1 cup of granulated sugar or white sugar, and I'm also adding 3/4 cups of dark brown sugar. So I'm going to put all of that in a bowl and I'm going to set it to the side. Then the next thing I'm going to be doing is getting the rest of the dry ingredients together. So I am not using the swan cake flour. You know, that's something that you could use, but I'm going to be using some all-purpose flour. And it's going to be 2 cups of that. And what I'm doing is adding it to my sifter, and I'm going to sift that flour into a large bowl. And I feel like this is just easier, especially like if you haven't gone to the store and gotten some cake flour. This is the next best thing to do. So again, just using my sifter, and I am sifting that flour in a large bowl. So after I've gotten all the flour in there, I'm going to be getting my next dry ingredient, and that's going to be some baking powder. Now, this baking powder is what I've used as the Clabber Girl. I don't know if that's like a US thing, but that's the only baking powder I've ever seen is that particular brand. But that's what I'm going to be using for this this recipe. So I've added the baking powder in there, and I'm just going to whisk that in. And now I'm going to get over to my wet ingredients. So my wet ingredients is going to be starting off with some sour cream. So I'm using like 2/3 cups of sour cream. With different brands of sour cream, you can get like a light version or you can get like the full fat version. This is the full fat version of the sour cream. I am not skipping out because this is for the holidays. Now, another thing that I was looking at, I was like, okay, is this measuring cup a 1/3 cup or not? It is a 1/3 cup, so that's what I'm looking at, the measuring cup. So I put a total of 2/3 sour cream inside of this bowl. The next thing I'm going to be doing is adding some Bacardi rum. Now you can use the gold rum or dark rum. I'm going to be adding 1/4 cup of Bacardi rum to this mixture. Now, once I've gotten the Bacardi rum in there, I'm going to be using my whisk to get this like very nice and smooth. And then I'm going to set that bowl aside, and I'm going to prep my standing mixer. Now, when you're mixing all of the ingredients together, you can use a hand mixer. I just have a KitchenAid standing mixer, and I've been using this for years, like probably about 18 years by now. But this is what I use when I'm doing like my baking items. So I've added 2 sticks of butter. This is salted butter, so that's basically 1 cup of salted butter, so just using 2 sticks. So after that's gotten creamed together, that was softened butter when I added in there, so it's been sitting out for like about 30 minutes to an hour. So now I'm adding those sugars in there, and I'm going to mix that. I usually start off on the slow setting and then I speed it up, so you can do that if you're using a standing mixer too. Now, after I've gotten the sugars in there, I got the butter in there, the next thing that I'm going to be doing is making sure that that creams up really good, and I'm going to add some eggs. So I'm using 4 large eggs that I've already beaten, and I usually don't like cracking eggs on camera because you never know if the shell is going to get in there. But anyway, so I have cracked 4 large eggs, and I'm going to be putting a little bit of those eggs at a time. And as I'm mixing it up, I am using a spatula to kind of get everything mixed together. So I'm going to stop that standing mixer, and I'm just going to use my spatula to push everything down just to make sure that everything is getting incorporated correctly. And I am doing that a few times as I am mixing the ingredients together. So the next thing I'm going to be adding is some vanilla extract. I'm using a McCormick brand, but you can use whatever vanilla extract you have available. This stuff can be pretty expensive at times. So I'm just going to be adding this to the mixture, and this is about 1 tablespoon of pure vanilla extract. Do not use imitation vanilla extract, use the pure vanilla extract. So as that's getting mixed together, I'm going to start adding in the flour. Now, and that was that flour and the baking powder mixture. So I'm going to be adding in like 1/3 of this mixture. And then after I add the flour mixture, then I'm going to be adding in some more of the wet ingredients. So that was that sour cream and that Bacardi mixer. So I'm going to be adding a little bit of that. And I'm going to alternate that a few times until I get all the flour and all the sour cream Bacardi rum mix inside of there. Now remember, as you're adding this, again, if you need to scrape down the sides of the bowl, make sure that you do that, because you want to make sure that everything is getting well mixed. Now, as you are getting your ingredients mixed together, if you have not done it already, you want to make sure that your oven has been preheating to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. You don't want to wait until everything has been mixed together before adding. You want to make sure that your oven is already preheated, because that's just going to save you time. And you want to make sure that your cake is baking evenly. With this cake, I am going to be using a Bundt pan. Now, if you know, with Bundt pans or any of those pans that have like the nice little curves in it, it does sometimes make your cake not come out easily. So what I tend to do is spray it with some baking spray, and then I add, and this baking spray does have flour in it, but I like to be even extra protective, so I add some flour to the pan also. I'm just going to shake it and just make sure that the flour and the baking spray is covering all the nooks and crannies of that pan. You don't necessarily, again, have to use a Bundt pan. You can also use like a, the 2 round pans. You can do that too. But for this, I am using the Bundt pan. So if you are using extra flour like me, you want to make sure that you shake out all of that excess flour before adding the cake mix to it. So the next step that I'm going to do is get my cake mix together. So I'm going to be spreading that all over this Bundt pan. And you know, some people just have like a certain way that they do it. I'm just pouring it in there. And then I'm just going to rub the top of it with my spatula. I'm also going to shake it just to make sure that it at least looks even inside of this Bundt pan. People have different methods of what they do with their Bundt pans, but it's just what I'm doing, just to make sure that everything is nice and smooth. So once I get all this together, I am going to put it in the oven, and it's going to be baking again at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's going to be in the oven for approximately 50 minutes. The next step to this, while that's baking, is to get your glaze together. This is a very simple glaze that I'm making, but it's starting off with some browned butter. Now, making brown butter is a process. But the easiest thing you want to do, whether you have a dark colored pot like I have right now or a light colored pot, you just want to make sure when you're adding your butter that you are stirring consistently. Now, to get that butter brown, it was cooking on like a medium low for at least about 8 to 10 minutes. So that's how you get that butter to get like that. You can do that either on a medium low or a medium high, but just make sure that you are watching what you're doing as it's getting brown. So I've added some water to this mixture as well as some brown sugar, and I'm going to add that Bacardi rum. Now, this is alcohol, so you want to make sure that your stove is on a low setting at this point, because you don't want the alcohol to make a flame, kind of like a flambe. So you want to make sure that your fire is at a low setting before you add that alcohol. And you're just going to stir that in. And the next thing I'm going to do is add some vanilla extract to this. And I'm going to cook this glaze on a low setting just to make sure that I get like a syrup out of it. I want it to be like syrupy, a little thick, but not too thick, because I'm going to be pouring that over the cake later. Now with this syrup, I'm going to be reserving about half a cup because I'm going to be using some of that syrup inside of the glaze. So I'm going to put like half a cup inside of a separate bowl and just going to set that aside. Now the cake has finished. It's been 50 minutes. I'm going to let it sit out for about 10 to 15 minutes so that it can cool off. And I'm going to add it to a cooling rack. So once I take this off, I'm putting it over to the cooling rack, and then I'm going to get it prepped for getting the glaze together. Now, you can do this two ways. You can invert your cake into this cake plate, and you can add your glaze directly on it and not put it in the refrigerator. Now, some people have seen my cake online on TikTok as well as on Facebook and Instagram, and it has like this nice crusty look to it. That's because I added the glaze right on top of the cake and it was super hot. But with this particular time while I'm making this, I'm going to be adding some powdered sugar. So what I'm going to do is make sure that this cake is cool. So I've taken the cake out of the cake pan, I've added it to a plate. I'm using a turkey size oven bag and I'm adding it into this cake pan. So once I get it all in there, I'm going to put it on top of the cake and I'm going to invert it, and I'm going to be adding the syrup to it. So you can watch me do it now. So I'm adding the turkey bag into this pan, and I'm going to sit that cake pan right on top of the cake, move my cake rack out of the way, and I'm going to invert it by turning it over. So here we go. Flipping it, taking the glass cake plate off, and now I'm going to start sticking some holes inside of this cake with one of my huge skewers. I use this with my wok. I'm just going to poke it with some holes. If you have toothpicks, you can do the same thing. And I'm just going to poke it and poke it so I have enough holes before I start adding the other part of that syrup. So remember, I have a half a cup that I have set aside in a bowl, and this is the remaining of that syrup. So I'm just going to pour it all over that cake. And I'm telling you, when I was making this, it smelled so good. Now again, like I said, from here you can make your glaze, turn this cake back over into the cake plate and just throw your glaze on it. That's one way of doing it, and that's how I have the cake looking. That's on like TikTok right now. But what I'm going to do is add some powdered sugar on here. So I want my cake to be cold, and I'm going to put it in the refrigerator, and it's going to be sitting in the refrigerator for about at least 1 to 2 hours. So while that's happening, I'm going to be making my glaze. I have that half a cup that was reserved. I'm going to add some powdered sugar in here, and I'm going to stir it so that it's thick. Now, I may add too much powdered sugar in there. If you do that, you can always add like some heavy cream or some milk to it just to make it loose again. So that's what I did here. I added like a couple of tablespoons of heavy whipping cream, and it got it to a consistency that I wanted. So I'm going to take that cake out the refrigerator, and I'm going to add that glaze. So here we go. I'm gonna put the oven bag to the side, add the cake plate on top of here, and I'm going to flip it again, and that will be the last of all the flipping with this cake. So here we go, flip, and I'm going to take that cake plate out of there. And this cake has definitely been chilled. And again, this is just a step you do not have to do, but I wanted it to be cold before I added that powdered sugar on there, and in the glaze too. So here we go. So this is how it looks, and everything is nice and smooth. I'm adding that glaze to it, and I'm telling you, this glaze is really, really good. Like, I want to dip my fingers in there so bad, but I'm like, oh, I'm on camera, I can't do that. So yeah, so I'm gonna add the glaze on there, and after that, I'm going to use like this instrument that I have, and it's on my Amazon influencer page. I'll have a link to that in the video description. Actually, all the things that I use in this video, if you want to get that equipment, it's on my Amazon influencer page. So yeah, just click the link inside the video description. So I am adding the powdered sugar on there, and it looks nice and pretty and holiday-ish, if that's even a word. And there it is, there's the cake. So this is one way that you can do it to make it nice and pretty and for the holidays. And I'm sure your friends and your family will enjoy this. It's a nice rum cake, and it's not too much alcohol in there. The measurements that I have on my website makes it just right. So friends, if you're watching this on YouTube, TikTok, or Instagram, shout out to everyone who has subscribed to my channel, or maybe you're following me on one of those social media platforms. Thank you so much for coming back and cooking with me again. If you are new here, my name is Angela, and this is my account Plus Size in Chicago, where I make a lot of easy to cook comfort food meals. You'll also see me reviewing different restaurants in the greater Chicagoland area, or maybe showing you some places I ate while on vacation. Be sure to subscribe or follow me. Also leave a comment and share this video with your friends and family. I'll see you guys next time.